Hello and welcome to State Matters. I'm your host, Mathew Muratore. With the upcoming 2022 November elections, we thought who best to speak on the topic than our new town clerk for the town of Plymouth, Kelly McElreath.
Hi.
I said that right.
You did.
All right, I did. Perfect. Well, first of all, welcome to the town clerk job in
Thank you.
Plymouth.
I'm excited to be here.
And you said you recently moved to Plymouth as well.
I did.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago yesterday,
Yeah,
right before
terrific.
the, tomorrow I should say, right before the primary, I
Yeah.
decided it was time to move to town and
Yeah.
really get involved in the community.
How
So
do you
I'm
like the
looking-
town so far living here?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's been awesome so far. So
Yeah.
been busy, but I'll get to enjoy all the sights and sounds soon.
Yeah. And the crowds will start settling down a little bit,
Yeah.
right around after the holidays maybe.
Yeah.
So talk about your background a little bit. So you've been a town clerk for since 2001.
Correct.
What made you get into it?
So my previous life, I was actually a bank manager for, so right out of college, I went into banking. And
Where'd you go to college?
UMass Amherst.
Oh, great. My daughter's there. One of my daughters
It's a great
is
school.
there. Yeah.
So I was there for, so I was doing that for 14 years. I managed, different branches throughout Worcester County, and then I had my 2 children.
And how old are they now?
They are now 27 and 25.
Great.
So my daughter just had her birthday 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So they're getting old. But
Not you, though.
No, they do, not me. But so I wanted to be able to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Banking was changing, and it really wasn't something that I was enjoying as much anymore. And then in the meantime, we had built a house in Upton, and I got myself involved in the finance committee. I thought it was
That's
a good.
how I got started in finance
There
committee
you
in
go.
Plymouth.
Yeah. So I thought it was a natural fit with working in banking, and I realized through the finance committee that the previous town clerk, they had been there for 30 years, was retiring, and I was like, still not quite sure what a town clerk did, but I thought that would be interesting. So I ran for election and I won.
Oh, it was an elected position?
It was
there?
elected a
Oh,
position
wow.
in 2001.
Oh.
So it was a big move. So
Yeah.
I got the position and I've enjoyed it ever since.
Is it still an elected position? Up
No,
there?
in 2013 we made it
changed it.
appointed because town clerks have such an important role
Yeah,
in local
yeah.
government right now. It's difficult to make it. It's good to have someone with experience or the background
Yeah.
to take
What made
over
you
that
want
role.
to get involved in the town?
Just to help my community. I've always been
good.
community minded.
Yeah.
Even in college and whatnot, I was always looking to see what was happening in college.
That's terrific.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
terrific.
been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a good role. So
So in 2015, you got an award.
I did.
Talk about that.
I did. So previous to one of the major accomplishments I like to think about in Upton is we had a town hall that was over 130 years old that had not ADA accessible, duct tape on the windows, like it was in really tough shape. So Upton, similar to Plymouth, has the community preservation. So I ended up on that committee to renovate the town hall. So it took a lot of time out of my life, a lot of meetings, and we were able to get the funding.
While you were being town clerk?
While
so-
I was town clerk, we got the funding to renovate the town hall. So we pretty much took the building and gutted it and made it a very functional town hall for the next 100 years for the town. So that took place between 2013 and 14. So in 2015, the Mass Town Clerks Association, that I've been a member since I became a town clerk in '01, they set up a Town Clerk of the Year award. So I'm proud to say the Board of Selectmen in Upton, with all my work with the renovation, they nominated me, and I was selected as Town Clerk of the Year. So it was a
That's
nice surprise.
terrific, Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been on the executive board of the Mass Town Clerks Association
Yeah,
as well?
I've done a stint on the executive board, and my favorite thing to do right now is participate in the mentoring committee.
Yeah, talk about that. What is it? I saw that in your background.
So what that is the town. We have a lot of new town clerks. That have we have 351 of them across Massachusetts, and sometimes they come in and they're not, like I remember 21 years ago, you're not sure what you're doing and where to go. So we have individual classes 4 times a year that the new clerks are allowed to come in, and we try to limit it to like 25, and it's more of a one-on-one, they can ask any questions that they have, and we're able to give them some direction and help them with what they're doing.
Particularly with the job market the way it is, with so many different fields, mentoring is really a way to go. I'm hearing a lot of I come from a healthcare background, and I'm hearing a lot of healthcare providers are talking about mentoring
Right.
people to get more people involved. So that's a terrific
Correct.
program. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try.
Yeah, that's great. So, so let's get into the voting. So, a lot of changes.
Yes.
A lot of changes with voting. I don't even know where to start. but I know we made some voting changes this past session at the State House, and
Yeah,
the
thank
governor
you for
signed
that.
it. Yeah, you're welcome. But why don't you talk about that Voting Act that was passed, and what some of the changes that people will see, particularly because this will be the first time, I believe, with the
with
state
those
election. Yeah,
regulations,
with those
yeah.
regulations. Yeah.
So the legislature, as you're aware, passed the Votes Act. I don't even know what it stands for, I'll be honest with that. But
I'm not sure
it's,
either.
however, what it pretty much did was make all the changes all the emergency regulations that we put in place with the pandemic for 2020, we made those permanent. So we kind of cleaned up some of the language and extended a couple of the things.
So start with the vote by mail, because that seems to be the biggest change.
That's the biggest
Yeah.
change. So now the state will be mailing everyone postcards.
When does that happen?
So everyone got one, I think it was in July
For the
or
primary,
late
yeah,
August
okay.
or early August for the primary.
Yep.
And you had the option, voters had the option to check off all elections or just November or just September. So I would say about 90% of those came in for both elections. Some came in just for November and some came in just for September. So we processed those. We mailed out the ballots in September. And if a voter did not make any selection, they got another postcard. As a matter of fact, I got my mail on my way
I was
here
going to
today.
say 2 of my daughters got theirs the other day
So
at the house. Yes.
if the voter didn't do anything with their first postcard, that's why you received a second postcard this week from the state. So it gives you the option to check off and mail the postcard, postage paid, it comes right back to Plymouth, and then we would put you in the system to mail you a ballot.
So the mailing of the ballots comes from the town.
The town.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
We wait for, they're still doing the results for the primary, from the primary, so we're waiting for the state to print all those ballots for the state election, and then they're going to be shipped to us, and then we're going to start getting the envelopes ready to mail. Currently, we have over 10,000 requests, and
Just in the town of Plymouth?
just in the town of Plymouth.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have, I
So
believe
when
my
do you-
last count was
Oh
10,166.
my God. So when do you expect the ballots to come to start mailing those out?
So I was probably not this week, probably the following week.
First
so the
week of October.
first week in October,
Okay,
and then
okay.
I'll need at least 7 to 10 days to get those stuffed and mailed out. And I think we're going to try and mail them out by precinct,
Okay.
and then get those done. So if you're in the same precinct, we'll get those stuffed
So they'll be
accordingly.
mailed out probably by Columbus Day, by that second week of October?
Hopefully.
Yeah, around
Well,
that time.
I'll be announcing that on the website.
Okay, good.
And social media that the vote by mail ballots are going out.
Okay.
And you can choose to, hopefully you vote that and you mail it back, and then we open up those we check you off on the voter list just like you show up on election day, because your information is on the envelope and you've signed it. We check you off just like you're there on election day, repeating myself, and we put that ballot in the machine for you.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because you hear conspiracy theories that, well, people then can go in and vote,
Right.
Afterwards. So what happens if the person, say, forgets? They forget they voted by mail, and they come to the polling location to vote.
So the voting list that we have will show that you submitted a vote by mail ballot and that we've processed it. So you would be
You're not
turned
that way.
down on election day to vote in person.
Okay. All right. Good. That settles that.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about early voting. So we've had early voting for a little bit now,
Yep,
but talk about that.
Yeah,
and
so
when
early,
that starts.
yeah, early voting was implemented in Massachusetts in 2016 for the presidential election, and we're open. So what that requires towns to do is to be open during our normal business hours plus weekends in Plymouth, because we have more than 25,000 registered voters. That anybody can just walk in, and it's some people kind of relate it to absentee voting in the old days, I will say, but you would have to fill out an application and a document to say that you were voting absentee. Well, in-person early voting is you literally just come in, we have a voting list up ready to go, and we check you off on the voting list just like it was election day, and then you get your ballot, you vote it. It is put
Right
in,
there. You vote
yep,
right
you
there.
vote
Yep.
right there. It is put in an envelope that you've signed an affidavit that you're voting early. And same thing as just like vote by mail on election day. We open up those envelopes and check you in a second time on the voter list to make sure, and the ballot is put into the tabulators just as if you were there.
Do you do that at the end of the election day on that day, or do you do it
So
during
as I was
the day?
saying that, I'm glad you asked that
Yeah.
for a follow-up. We have the ability,
I'm good like that.
Thank you. The Secretary of the Commonwealth has established regulations that we're able to open up those envelopes 1 week before the election day. And we did that for the primary because to open up over 10,000 envelopes on one day is a lot. So we will start opening those up the week before the election, and hopefully have most of them open and processed before we
What do you
even
mean by
open.
processed?
Meaning checked into the voter list
Okay.
and opened and sealed, and then the plan will be to process those ballots into the tabulators on election day.
On election day. Now, do those get tabulated during the election time
Yes.
or after?
No,
right
during
there,
the
right there?
election time. So
Okay.
hopefully by the time the polls close at 8 o'clock, all the ballots have been processed.
So when does that actually start? That early voting? Is
Early
it-
voting starts Saturday, October 22nd.
Okay.
We open that weekend 10 to 4,
Okay.
6 hours each day on Saturday and Sunday. And then during the weekdays, we're open our regular business hours.
Okay.
So Plymouth Town Hall is open 7:30 to 4 on Monday, 7:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday, 7:30 to 4 on Wednesday and Thursday, and 7:30 to noontime on Fridays.
Okay.
And then the following weekend, which I believe would be the 29th,
Yep.
we would be open that Saturday and Sunday 10 to 4. And then the following week, our regular business hours. So
Okay.
in-person early voting ends Friday, I believe it's November 1 at 12 p.m.
Okay, so that Friday, that's when it stops.
That's when in-person early voting
Okay, okay,
stops.
okay.
We need a couple days to process stuff
Yeah,
before
yeah,
the
no, that
election.
makes sense.
No, it's not the 1st, it's the 4th,
Yeah, I
because
was
the
gonna say, I think
election
it's
is the
fourth.
8th. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so election is, and let's go to that now. So
Yeah.
the election is November 8th.
Yep, Tuesday.
And the polling hours are
7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
8 p.m., okay.
And so as we're getting everything, as we're mailing out the ballots and receiving them in, and we're processing we're helping the voters that come in person early, we will be prepping everything to go out to the polls, the 15 polling locations that we have here in Plymouth in the 18 different precincts. So as you are aware, in 2020, the census allowed us to
Yeah,
add.
let's talk about that. Why? 'Cause
Yeah.
people don't understand why. Some people I've talked to, they don't understand why it changed. Why did it have to change? But it's the census it's a federal requirement. The census be done every 10 years,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
So it
And
was
you
done in 2020, and then what happens from there?
Right. So what happens is you can't have more than 4,000 people in a precinct. And what has happened is not only did the population in Plymouth increase from 2010 to 2020, but we'll use the Pine Hills.
Hills,
More people are living in that area, so it needed to be, quote, divided up to make it even so all the precincts have pretty much the same number of voters.
Yeah.
So we have I think it's around 3,700 voters in each precinct, and we found I would say they found, because I was involved in it, the polling locations that were best suited for how we had to divide the people up. So we urgently tell people to check the website, because there's an interactive map that you can literally type in your address and it will pop up.
So that's how you do it. Okay, 'cause
Yes.
I did print out the map. So,
Yep.
okay, but you can actually go into that map and
And
put
put
your
your
address.
address
It
in.
tells you where.
Yep,
Okay,
and it tells
okay.
you what precinct you're in.
Okay.
There's also something on the state website. Just so I'm going to give a little shout out here on the town clerk's website for the town of Plymouth. There's a link. Top link is 2022 state state election link, and it gives all the information that I just talked about, so you can review it there. But there's also a link, not only a link to the map, but there's also a link to check your voter status, and that goes right to the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website. And again, putting in your name and date of birth, it will verify that you're registered to vote in Plymouth and what precinct and what polling location.
Good point. So when's the last day to register to vote?
The
for
last
this election?
day to register to vote is 10 days before, so
Okay.
it is Saturday, October 29th.
29th, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So, and I just heard this recently too, and I should have told you this off the air, but somebody had mentioned they recently, like this week, went to the state website, and it has Plymouth broken down a little bit to 2A and 2B, precincts 3A and 3B, which I think was done after redistricting, but then changed since then?
So my understanding is we have 18 precincts,
Right.
and then we have a sub 2A, sub 3A. So we
Okay.
have precinct 2, and then we have precinct
Okay,
2A,
2A,
precinct
okay.
3, and precinct 3A. That was determined on the state level
Right.
because of the blocking that for
For
the
state
state
representative, first
yeah,
Plymouth district, yeah.
yeah.
And the 12th Plymouth district,
Right.
yeah.
So they needed to be broken down into blocks, because you do it based on
Okay.
the census blocks, I
Right.
guess is a good way to put it. So Plymouth did end up with 2, what they refer to as sub-precincts, but the good news is no one lives in 2A or 3A.
Oh, that's how, okay, that's why then, okay.
Yep, so there's
Because
not,
people were expecting to vote in the primary for in the first Plymouth and the 12th Plymouth, and they only saw the 12th district on there, not the first district on
right,
there.
exactly.
That's why, okay.
So that's
okay.
why. So the good news
makes
is
sense.
the bad news is we have it. The good news is no one lives there, so
Yeah.
there's no special quote accommodations that have to be made for that.
Yeah.
Where there are some other
Yeah.
sub precincts in some other communities.
Yeah, and I do have to mention Pearl Sears, the late Pearl Sears.
Yes.
Who, I know you took her job. You didn't, I don't know if you knew her or not, but.
I had met
Yeah,
her
yeah,
on
she was
the
wonderful.
occasion.
She really went through this whole redistricting
She
and
did.
really got it put together. And I remember one of the last conversations I had with her about this 2A and 2 and 3A, and her mind was boggled why I had to do that. And we were able to hook her up with some people at the state that really helped.
Yeah.
But she really understood it, and they loved dealing with her because how she just dealt with the whole issue, which wasn't an easy thing for Plymouth because, as you said, the growth.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
So she deserves a lot of credit for
She does.
what she did. Yeah,
She does.
yeah,
So, so it's printed on the ballots, but there's no one will see that they're in that precinct.
Yeah. So let's talk about. I actually printed out some of the precincts, so I'm just going to go through them a little bit because I think most of them stay the same. So precinct 1, you still voted Hedge.
Yep.
Precinct 2 still votes at Cold Spring. Precinct 3 is still on Lincoln Street, 11 Lincoln Street. It's just the school administration building now.
Correct, yep.
Precinct 4 is still Plymouth North High School. Precinct 5 is still the Town Hall. Manaman Elementary is Precinct 6. Indian Brook is Precinct 7 and 14.
Yep.
Cedarville Firehouse is still Precinct 8. South Elementary is still Precinct 9. Federal Furnace is still Precinct 10. The airport is still 11. South Middle is 12. So that's one of the first changes then, that South Middle School was added. Because that wasn't one of the voting locations before.
Right, so
Has
it's
12 and 16,
and 16, yes.
Okay.
So I learned when I got here, so for the local election, people didn't know where to go. So we now have signs that.
I was one of those. I went to
Okay.
the wrong one. I went to the high school. I should have been at the middle school.
So we were able to, and again, I'm walking through it to make better signage, but we were able to get signage that when you pull into the driveway, it will tell you 12 and 16 South Middle, so it will direct you down that
Okay.
driveway, and precinct 15 will direct you up to South High and bring
16.
you South High.
Oh,
is
so high is
15.
15, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
Yep, no, we'll bring you up and around to the gym cafeteria,
Cafeteria,
at
yeah.
South High.
Yeah, yeah.
So we made it a little bit better that if you know what your precinct number is, at least when you get to that campus of polling locations, hopefully you can follow.
And you mentioned the Pine Hills. So
Yes.
the Pine Hills is mostly going to Plymouth South High School and Plymouth South Middle.
Right.
Plymouth South Middle, okay.
Correct.
And as we mentioned off air, maybe you can talk about it a little bit now, I had some people ask about those polling locations. Some people are elderly and they handicap access to the location where the voting is.
Correct.
Can you just
I
give
believe
an
South.
update?
Yeah, I did visit. So I had the
think it was South
opportunity to
Middle.
visit South Middle,
Yeah.
and it's in the voting is taking place in the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And the doors are not as easy to get to. So that was just recently pointed out to me within the last week myself. So, and I remember visiting what that looks like. So I'm going to have some conversations to see
Okay.
what we can do to clean
Terrific.
that up.
That's great. That's great. So again, 12, precinct 12 is South Middle. 13 is West Elementary, which is the same. Indian
Yeah.
Brook, as I mentioned. Plymouth South High School is now precinct 15. Used to be 12, but now it's precinct 15.
Okay.
And then South Middle School, as we said, and then 17. Oh, so South Elementary has 2 polling locations.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So it's 17, precinct 17 and 9
Nine.
are at. Okay,
Wow.
that has 2.
I'm learning
Okay.
them.
Yeah,
As you
yeah,
were
me
saying that,
too,
I'm
yeah.
like,
And PCIS is a changed precinct. It's now precinct 18. So.
Correct.
Okay.
So-
All right. So we have all the precincts out, and as you mentioned, that all people need to go on the town website.
Yep.
Get the map.
Yep.
Put in your address, and it'll tell you exactly where you need to vote.
exactly.
Perfect. Now, I know you, I think it was before you came, I think the town clerk actually ended up sending out postcards to everyone as well several months ago indicating where they were going to be
Correct.
voting.
Yes.
But I think, including myself, I
Yeah.
don't know what I did with it.
Right.
I still went to the wrong school. I thought it was the right one, but,
No,
but at least
it-
we can go on the map.
Yeah, you can go to the map and, or vote by mail, and then you just go to your mailbox.
Now, how many voters are there in Plymouth?
About 53,000.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, and the population is about 62, 63.
Yeah, I believe the 2020 was 61,200.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so
That's
it was.
high voting, yeah.
Yeah,
And already you have 10,000.
already I have over 10,000 requests, and with the postcards, people getting new postcards.
You'll see
yeah,
more.
I'm thinking people might. I'm not going to vote in the primary and
Yep.
didn't do anything, but I think this time we will have more. So. It's really becoming a, if you look at the stats from the primary, it was almost 50-50 split.
I was just going to ask you that. So as people
knew
get,
you were, that's
as
why.
people, yeah, you're good. As people get more comfortable, they're probably going and more trusting.
Well,
they're
correct.
probably going to actually do more and more. It'd be interesting with this. With this election, I believe like an off presidential year in the state elections, usually the voting is around, I think, 25, 30%, something like that.
Well, we had 24% for the state primary.
Right, which was
So-
high, and
which
I think
was a pretty-
probably because of the early vote or the
Yeah,
voting
yeah.
by mail.
You know, one thing over my 21 years as a town clerk, I realized my primary role is to make voting easy for the voters. That's what I'm hired to do. So, the early voting in person, the vote by mail, it's making it easier for the voters. And like you said, look on the map or go to your mailbox and, vote the ballot and just mail it in or drop it in the mailbox. I do ask that if you have it ready, if you can do it before Election Day, it makes our lives a little bit easier because we're not running around on Election Day trying to get all the ballots to the 15 different locations in town. I had my first visit through all the precincts as much as possible on September 6th and got to know Plymouth a little well on
yeah,
that rainy day
yeah.
driving around
Yeah,
town. But it was good. So, but the more we can get out to the polls to be counted on Election Day makes the official results easier to attain.
When would you recommend to people on the mail-in ballots? When would you recommend that they stop mailing?
I would recommend they stop mailing the Tuesday, like the week before the election. And
Because
then
it has to be in your office on that Tuesday, November 8th, in order to vote, or is it postmarked?
it's the postmark by
It is.
November 8th,
Okay.
but it has to be received within 3 days, 3
Of
days
November.
afterwards.
Okay,
But
okay.
3 days after November 8th
November 11th.
is the
Veterans
Veterans
Day.
Day, so it's actually been extended to Saturday, November 12th.
Okay.
So,
boy.
so we'll have to make arrangements with the post office that Saturday to check to see if there's any ballots that are postmarked on November
okay.
8th. So, and that's good for the people. Like I'm hoping college students, if you're a parent and your student wants to vote, they can go online. One thing I did not mention is there's actually an online portal that someone can request a ballot online to be mailed to them. So if any parents are out there with students with children in college, they can request it online, and I would mail them the ballot at the college, and then they can mail it back. And they have, if it's postmarked on Election Day, and I get it by the 12th, it's counted.
Yeah. Actually, two of my daughters are in UMass and Westfield State.
Yeah.
My wife, Kristen, is going up to see them. She has the postcards from the Secretary of State. She's going to have them filled out, have them mail them, so they can get them while they're in college.
While they're in college, and then they can mail them back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, side note, I know we don't have much time left, but I had mailed a ballot in 2020 to a college student in Tennessee, and her mom was actually one of my poll workers, and she got it on Election Day. Like, for some reason, there was a big delay.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I'm like, if she gets it to the post office and gets it marked, I can count it. And it was really important for this this voter, so she did that, and she went to the post office and said, should I overnight it? And they were like, no, just hand it to us. I had it in my hand 24 hours later. No lie.
Wow,
The post office
wow,
hand-delivered it to me 24 hours later.
I'm sure they're alerted by that around that time.
Yeah,
of the
the
year
post
now.
office, the elections division has been working with the post office. They're aware of the deadlines and the dates and what we have to do, and we'll be working with them to make sure that we have them all.
It's really interesting, though, because if you have a tight race, you really may not know that night.
Right.
Like the county commissioner race, which you
Right,
won't
yeah,
know that
and
night.
it took a while to
Because you
get
have to wait
those
those
results.
3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for the primary, it was a little bit different. That was 8 o'clock was the deadline.
Oh, it was? Okay,
it was
so-
just all of us trying to get the official results.
So the primary has to be in by then.
Right.
But the regular election has 3 days.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
In the couple of minutes we have left, just what are some of the other major responsibilities of the town clerk? I know you do it all.
So, I help with the town meeting. I take the minutes of the town meeting and certify any votes that are taking. General bylaws and zoning bylaws need to go to the Attorney General to get approved. One of the major things that I do is vital records. When someone's born, when someone gets married, unfortunately when someone passes away, certificates are filed with my office. So we have all those on file, so when people need that birth certificate or they want to come in and get their, we have a lot of requests with the real ID through the Registry of Motor Vehicles because they need that birth certificate and that marriage certificate if their name has changed. So we get a lot of requests to provide those vital records for people. So that keeps us very busy among all the other things we do.
Yeah, what are some of the other things that your office does?
Let's see, we do.
By the way, you get some wonderful workers there.
I'm very fortunate with
under
the
Larry
staff.
Pizer and Pearl, I mean, there was just some terrific people that have worked there over the years and still do. So.
I'm very lucky with the staff. They've accepted me in, and they're willing to listen to me, and I really feel like we've got a good team going, and I'm looking forward to what we can do with that office moving forward. And I'm hoping to. Being involved in the Mass Town Clerks Association, I hear from what a lot of other communities do. So I'm looking to expand some of the service, maybe not some the services, but definitely the efficiencies that we do, and make all our lives easier for people.
Yeah, that's terrific because it seems like when anybody goes to town hall, they go to the town clerk's office, and you're almost like a traffic cop. You send them in different directions where they really need to go.
Many times,
but the town clerk is the state.
Many times I answer the phone. I didn't know who to go, so I'm where to go.
Exactly
I'm starting with you. All right, what do you got?
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much
My pleasure.
for
Thank you for
joining me
having
today. And again, welcome to the job. Welcome to Plymouth, and we look forward to working closely with you over the next several years. So.
Me too.
So we hope you at home enjoyed today's show and encourage you to contact your town clerk office with any questions with regard to voting, or go to their website. I have recently begun recording urgent and newsworthy announcements from the State House in State Matters Update. They will be available on YouTube along with State Matters, so please subscribe to receive your notification when new announcements are available. We will look forward to seeing you next time on State Matters.